It's strange how the truth slips out when no one is trying to hide it. At the office dinner, with the noise of cutlery and small talk filling the gaps between people who barely tolerate each other, I heard a sentence that froze my fork halfway to my mouth. It didn't come with drama. No raised voices, no confrontation, just HR casually saying, "Oh, I hope your manager reviewed the contract update we sent last week." And that was it. A passing comment. A sentence she probably didn't even remember saying 2 minutes later. But it hit me like someone pressed a finger to a bruise I didn't know I had. I'd been waiting for that contract update for 2 months. My manager, Steele, told me 3 times. They're still finalizing things. He said it like it annoyed him, like HR was slow, inefficient, getting on his nerves. And I believed him. I trusted him the way you trust a dentist with a drill. You don't like it, but you assume they know what they're doing. But hearing that HR already sent it changed something in me instantly. Not anger, not even shock, just a quiet, sudden clarity, like a light flipping on in an empty room. I sat there, replaying the moment in my head while everyone else was laughing about something at the far end of the table. My plate got cold. The smell of rosemary steak blended with cheap perfume and the faint squeak of the waiter's shoes. I remember all the details because my mind was trying to anchor itself to anything other than the realization forming in my chest. Steele lied to me. Not a misunderstanding, not bad timing. A lie. I didn't look at HR immediately. I didn't want to spook myself. Instead, I took a long sip of water and watched Steele from across the table. He was laughing loudly at a joke he didn't even hear. His chair leaned back just enough to annoy anyone walking behind him. He always laughed like he was performing. A little too loud, a little too eager, like he needed the attention more than the joke needed reacting. I wondered then, how many things had I taken at face value because it was easier? When the dinner shifted into that awkward downtime where half the table started checking their phones, I excused myself and walked toward the buffet area, where HR was hovering near the desserts. I didn't go there with a plan. I didn't even know what I was going to ask. I just needed to hear her say it again, clearly, directly to me. She smiled when she saw me. "Hey, you excited about the new terms? Should help you finally get some breathing room." I didn't return the smile. "The terms?" Steele said HR was still working on them. Her face didn't change right away. It shifted slowly. Confusion first, then concern. "Working on them?" "No, we finalized everything last Wednesday. I emailed him the full draft and CC'd the director. He didn't tell you." There it was. Simple. Direct. Final. "No," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "He didn't." She bit her lip, almost like she regretted telling me. Maybe he wanted to review it carefully before showing it to you. Steele had never reviewed anything carefully in his life. Attention to detail wasn't something he believed in. He preferred the sound of his own voice. Still, I nodded politely. Maybe. She excused herself to take a call, leaving me standing there with a tiny spoon in my hand and a swirl of chocolate mousse melting in a glass cup I suddenly had no appetite for. My heart wasn't racing, my palms weren't sweaty, but something inside me tightened. A rope pulled just a little too hard. On my way back to the table, I caught a glimpse of Steele, accepting a wine refill with that smug look he got when he felt important. He looked relaxed, perfectly unaware that his lie had surfaced like a dead fish in a pond. I sat down quietly and pushed my food around. The conversation turned to vacation plans, weekend trips, inside jokes I was too distracted to follow. Someone asked me a question about travel reimbursements, but their voice sounded like it was coming through a thick wall. All I could think about was the email he hid, the contract update HR thought I had already seen, the opportunity he'd kept in his pocket like it belonged to him. And the longer I sat there, the more the rope inside me twisted, slow and steady. It wasn't anger yet, just the quiet beginning of something sharp. When the bill finally arrived and the group started the usual "I'll get next time" dance, Steele clapped me on the shoulder like we were old friends. "Good dinner, right?" he said, smiling. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, something in me didn't bend. It was informative, I said. He didn't notice the difference in my tone. He rarely noticed anything that wasn't about him. Driving home later, I kept replaying the phrase HR said. We sent it last week, like a pebble rattling in my shoe. The night outside my windshield looked the same as always, but inside the car it felt like the air had shifted. Not a storm. Not yet. Just the promise of one. By the time I reached my apartment, the rope inside me had stopped twisting. It had turned into a knot. The next morning, the office felt different when I walked in. Maybe it was just me? The same flickering ceiling light buzzed near the break room. The same scent of burnt coffee drifted through the hallway, and the same people shuffled toward their desks with their usual half-awake nods. But something in the air felt heavier, like the building was holding its breath. Or maybe I was. Steele was already at his desk, spinning slowly in his chair with one leg crossed over the other. He always sat like he was posing for a picture no one was taking. He raised his hand in a lazy wave when he saw me. "Morning, superstar," he said. "Ready for another day of corporate joy?" He spoke lightly, but I heard the edge beneath it. He always used over-friendly lines when he wanted to distract or soften you. It was his version of camouflage. "Morning," I replied, setting my bag down. I opened my laptop and stared at the screen, not really seeing the emails. All I could think about was that contract, the update, the thing he pretended didn't exist. 10 minutes later, he rolled his chair toward my desk like he was drifting on a lazy river. "So," he said, drawing out the word, "I talked to HR yesterday. They're still working on your contract. Bureaucracy, you know?" His eyes didn't blink when he lied. They never did. I let him talk, let him build his little stage. "Anyway," he continued, "I'll follow up with them this week. Don't stress." I turned my head slowly and looked at him. "They said they sent it last week?" He froze. Not dramatically, not movie style, just for half a second like someone unplugged him. Then he forced a smile that didn't match his eyes. "Did they?" he asked lightly. Must have missed it in the shuffle. But something in his voice cracked, a tiny fracture, a wrong note that hung in the air between us. I didn't push further. I didn't need to. His reaction said enough. Later that day, I ducked into the kitchen for water. HR was there, heating leftovers. She greeted me with a soft smile. I hesitated, then asked, "Do you mind forwarding me the contract update? Directly?" Her eyebrows lifted just a little. "Oh, sure, I thought you already had it." That sentence tasted bitter. She tapped her phone and said she'd send it before lunch. When her email hit my inbox, I opened the file and just stared at it. Clear as day. My new salary, my new responsibilities, a project leadership position that should have been mine months ago. A role Steele had been telling me wasn't ready yet. There it was in black and white. Something twisted inside me, deeper than irritation, a tight metallic feeling that spread through my ribs. But that wasn't even the worst part, because as I scrolled through the email thread, I saw a message from the director, dated last Friday. "Make sure he gets this before Monday. We're counting on him to start the quarter strong." Steele had replied, "Absolutely. I'll review it with him first thing." My chest warmed, not with anger, with clarity. At lunch, I walked past Steele's desk. He was on a call, laughing too loudly at something no sane person would laugh at. When he noticed me, he covered the receiver and gave me a thumbs up. Showman to the end. Back at my desk, I read the contract again. I didn't know what hurt more, the delay, or the fact that he deliberately made sure I didn't see it. Not yet. Not until it suited him. He wanted control over the timing, my timing. And then came the moment that shifted everything a little further. Around 2 p.m., I overheard him talking to Nicole from finance. He didn't notice I was behind the corner. "I still think my guy would have been a better fit for the lead role," Steele was saying. "But we'll see. Maybe HR will let me run a comparison once the quarter starts." Her voice was lower. "But they already assigned it." Not officially, he said. Not until he signs. So, let's just say I'm keeping doors open. It hit harder than I expected. He wasn't just hiding the contract, he was holding it hostage. I walked away before I could hear more. The hallway felt off. Too bright. Too empty. Every footstep sounded like it echoed. I went to the bathroom, shut the stall door, and sat on the toilet lid, elbows on my knees. For the first time in a long time, I felt something sharp rising. Not anger, but the realization that someone I'd worked under for years never saw me as a person. Just a piece on a board he thought he controlled. And suddenly, the game didn't look the same anymore. When I returned to my desk, Steele wheeled over again, tapping his pen against my divider. "Hey, champ, quick thing," he began. I didn't look at him. "We'll talk later." He blinked. "Everything okay?" I closed my laptop. Not yet. I walked to HR's office before he could follow me. I knocked, stepped inside, and closed the door behind me. My voice stayed calm, even when my heartbeat wasn't. "I need to clarify something," I said. "Did my manager ever request a delay on my contract review?" Her expression changed, slowly, carefully. "No," she said. "Quite the opposite. He said he'd handle everything." And something inside me loosened. A knot untied itself, leaving behind something firmer, heavier. It was the moment I realized the ground under my feet wasn't solid anymore. But it could be, if I chose to build something on my own terms. When I left HR's office, Steele was waiting near my desk, arms folded. "What was that about?" he asked lightly. I looked at him, and for the first time in years, I didn't see a boss. I saw someone who'd mistaken silence for obedience. "We'll talk," I said again, grabbing my notebook and heading toward the stairs. His voice followed me. "About what?" But I didn't answer, because I didn't know it yet. But this was the moment everything would start unraveling. I didn't sleep well that night, not because of anger. That part still hadn't arrived. But because my mind kept assembling pieces I didn't realize were connected before. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw someone else's fingerprints all over the past few months. Steele reshuffling deadlines for budget reasons. Steele insisting I loop him into emails before responding. Steele asking for drafts of things that had already been approved. Steele pushing me to be patient about raises, promotions, new responsibilities. By morning, the pattern wasn't a pattern anymore. It was a map. I walked into the office just before 9, coffee in hand, and immediately noticed Steele hovering over my desk, like a bird guarding something that wasn't his. "Hey," he said with forced brightness, "you left early yesterday." "I didn't leave early," I replied. "I left exactly on time." He blinked. "Right, yeah. Sorry. So listen, before we start the day, there's a quick project shift I need to brief you on." "Not now," he frowned. "We need to align." "We will," I said calmly, "just not with you deciding the timing." Something flickered in his eyes. A twitch. A crack. He tried to cover it with a smile, but I'd finally learned how to see through those. He stepped closer. "Is there something I should know?" There it was, the first sign of him losing grip. Steele liked to pretend he ran the place, but he was terrified of things he didn't control. And I had just taken one step outside the circle he drew around me. "I'll call you when I'm ready," I said. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. "HR." I opened the email. "Per your request, looping in the director. Please review the attached timeline of all contract communications." And as I scrolled, something inside me lifted. Not hope, but momentum. Every single message HR sent was there. The dates lined up perfectly. One from a month ago, one from 3 weeks ago, one from last week, all marked with red receipts. And every one of them was answered by Steele. I looked at the timestamps. He had replied within minutes each time. Polite, composed, reassuring messages like, "Great timing. I'll prepare him. He'll sign by Monday." He had pretended to be the bridge while being the wall. I pressed my palm against the desk to steady myself. Not because I was overwhelmed, but because a new kind of clarity settled in. He didn't just try to delay my contract, he tried to replace me. I stood up and walked straight to HR. No hesitation this time. Steele called after me, but I kept walking. When I entered HR's office, she looked up, expression softening. "You got the timeline?" "I did," I said, "and I need to understand something. Why would my manager want to delay a contract that was already approved?" She hesitated the way people do when they want to protect the truth, not hide it. "I can't speak to his intentions," she said carefully, "but I can tell you he's been pushing hard for an external candidate to join your team." The room felt suddenly smaller. "A candidate for what?" She sighed. "The role you were assigned for Q1?" "My role?" "Yes." I leaned back slowly. Something inside my chest shifted, a quiet, precise break. Then she added, almost reluctantly, "He insisted we wait on finalizing your agreement. He said you weren't ready." That sentence lodged itself under my ribs, not because it hurt, but because it confirmed everything I hadn't wanted to admit. Someone I trusted had been slowly rewriting my narrative. But the next sentence changed everything. "The director disagreed," she said. "He said your performance metrics were the strongest on the team." She paused. "He signed off on you personally." I swallowed. "Does he know about this delay?" "We sent him the full thread." A pause. "This morning." My pulse steadied. Not quickened, steadied. Something in me aligned with a click so clean it almost felt like fate. As I walked back to my desk, the hallway felt familiar again. The walls, the windows, the quiet hum of the ventilation. Everything was the same, but I wasn't. Steele was waiting. He looked nervous this time, shifting his weight, tapping his pen against his palm. "What's going on?" he asked. I set my coffee down. "You tell me." He forced a laugh. "Okay, well, I guess we're playing the mysterious dramatic card today. HR sent me the email timeline." His mouth opened slightly. There it was, the moment his mask slipped. Barely noticeable, but I saw it. A tiny tremor at the corner of his lip. His eyes darted left, then right. He looked for a script he didn't have. "You don't understand how these things work," he said quickly. "I needed to manage expectations before giving you the news." "You mean hide the news?" His tone sharpened. "Look, sometimes leadership requires selective timing." "Selective timing?" I repeated quietly. "Is that what you call it?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Listen to me. I've been doing you a favor." "A favor?" "If I had given you that contract too early, you would have signed it without understanding how much responsibility you were taking on. I'm the one who delivered the last 3 projects on time." "That was luck," he snapped. The room stilled. Even his own breath caught at his choice of words. He realized it too late. He reached for a softer tone. "Look, let me talk to HR and fix this. We'll straighten everything out, okay?" But the shift had already happened. Not in him. In me? He wasn't someone I feared anymore. He was someone I'd finally gotten a clear look at. "I'll handle my own contract," I said simply. His face tightened. "Don't do anything rash." "Why?" I asked. "Afraid your candidate won't get the spot after all?" His eyes widened just a little, the smallest confession. I walked past him and sat down. He followed me like a shadow. "We need to align," he said sharply. "No," I replied, opening my laptop. "We don't. At noon, the director emailed me directly. Let's meet today, 3 p.m. When I saw Steele reading the same email, his hand actually shook. Not visibly to anyone else, but I saw the tremor. Then his eyes met mine, and for the first time since I'd known him, Steele looked afraid, not of me, of losing the thing he thought he built. And then came the moment that sealed everything. At 3:12 p.m., as I sat outside the director's office waiting, I saw Steele walk in first, uninvited. He closed the door behind him. For a few seconds, silence hung in the hallway. Then something crashed inside the office. Maybe a chair, maybe just a hand hitting the desk. Voices rose. Not yelling, but sharp, clipped sentences. A minute later, the door opened. Steele stepped out, and he didn't look like a man in control. He looked like a man whose last card had just been taken out of his hand. When the director called me in, he didn't waste time. "Close the door," he said. I did, and as I sat down, he looked at me with a calmness that felt deliberate. "We need to talk," he said, and for the first time since this all started, I felt the ground shift toward me, not away. The director didn't raise his voice. He didn't sigh or soften anything. He looked at me the way someone looks at a report they've already studied, calm, direct, and fully informed. "I've reviewed every communication between HR and your manager," he said. "I've also reviewed your performance metrics for the last 12 months. He paused. "You've exceeded every benchmark we set, consistently." I nodded once. I didn't trust my voice yet. He leaned back. "I'm sorry this happened. You should have had your contract weeks ago. The delay was inappropriate, and from where I'm sitting, deliberate." Hearing someone else say it made the truth settle differently, not heavier, cleaner. "Here's what we're going to do," he continued. "You'll get a revised contract, your contract, before the end of the day. New terms stand, your leadership role stands." His eyes narrowed slightly. "And you'll be reporting directly to me for the next quarter." There it was. Not drama, not revenge, just structure shifting into place. I breathed out slowly. "Thank you." He nodded. "You earned it." Then, almost as an afterthought, "And one more thing. If anything like this ever happens again, anything at all, you come to me directly." I didn't need to say yes. It was already understood. As I stood to leave, he added more quietly, "Keep delivering the way you have been. You're building something here." For the first time in weeks, I believed that. When I opened the door, Steele was sitting in the break area, pretending to flip through a magazine. He looked up fast, too fast, like a kid caught eavesdropping. "What did he say?" he asked, voice tight. I walked past him. "He said everything he needed to." He followed me down the hall. "Don't be cryptic. We need to align on messaging before the team meeting tomorrow." "Not my job anymore?" I said. He stopped walking. "What does that mean?" "I'm reporting directly to the director next quarter." I didn't turn around, but I heard the breath leave his chest. A small, sharp exhale. Not fear exactly, more like acceptance of something he thought he could outrun. The rest of the afternoon was quiet, too quiet. Emails came and went. People laughed in clusters. Someone reheated fish in the kitchen and became the office villain for 15 minutes. Normal rhythms returned, but something in the floor felt different. Lighter. At 4:26 p.m., my inbox pinged. Subject: updated contract for signature. I opened it. All the terms were there. Salary, bonus structure, leadership responsibilities, start date. Everything he tried to delay had finally landed where it belonged. I scrolled to the bottom and pressed sign. The sound it made, that tiny digital confirmation, felt like a door closing, cleanly. At 5 p.m., as I packed my things, Steele approached my desk again, hands in his pockets, shoulders tight. "Listen," he began. "I know things got messy, but we can fix this, you and me. We've worked together a long time." "No," I said gently. "We worked in the same building. That's not the same." He winced. "You're being emotional." I actually laughed. "No, I'm being precise." A few seconds passed. He swallowed hard. "Are you going to the director about me?" I zipped my bag. "I didn't go to anyone about you. I went to the truth. The rest handled itself." He didn't speak for a moment, then barely audible. "I messed up." I didn't respond. Some admissions don't need witnesses. He stepped back. "So that's it?" "That's it," I said simply. No speeches. No revenge monologue. Just an end. I walked out of the office and didn't look back. Outside, the air felt sharper, brighter. The kind of cool evening that wakes something in your chest, like you can finally breathe from a deeper place. I sat in my car for a moment, hands on the wheel, watching people spill out of the building in little groups. This wasn't triumph, not the loud kind. It was something steadier, a quiet internal click that said, "This chapter is done." That night, I cooked dinner in silence. No TV, no noise, just the sound of a knife against a cutting board, the sizzle of a pan. My apartment felt different, like someone had opened the windows after months of stale air. I hadn't realized how much weight I'd been carrying until it wasn't there anymore. Later, I checked my email one last time. HR had sent a note. "Congratulations again. Your leadership onboarding starts Monday. Let us know if you need anything." Nothing dramatic, just simple, solid words. On Monday, everything shifted for real. The director invited me to the leadership sync meeting, a room I'd never been in before. When I walked in, a few managers smiled politely, the way people do when they're trying to place you. Steele wasn't there. The director introduced me formally. "He'll be leading the Q1 rollout." A couple of heads nodded in approval. Someone said, "About time." The meeting started. Problems, solutions, deadlines, structures, real strategy, real ownership. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't fighting uphill anymore. I was standing where I belonged. After the meeting, on my way back to my desk, I passed Steele's office. The door was half open. He was sitting inside alone, staring at his monitor, shoulders slumped, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. He didn't see me walk by, and I didn't stop. Later that afternoon, HR sent a team-wide announcement. Effective immediately, all project leads will report to the director for the coming quarter. Steele's name wasn't mentioned anywhere. At 6 p.m., I shut down my computer, grabbed my jacket, and walked out the front doors with a calm I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. No victory lap, no adrenaline, no lingering anger, just a quiet, steady sense of rightness. Nothing dramatic happened on my drive home. No music swelled, no symbolic sunset painted the sky. I just drove. The same road, the same lights, the same turns. But the person behind the wheel wasn't the same. When I got home, I unlocked my door, stepped inside, and placed my keys on the table. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like something was hanging over me. The knot inside me, the one that formed at the dinner when HR said those words, had finally come undone. This time for good.